Hey guys, how are you? I hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I have yet another movie review. This movie is a thriller from the United States, English language, released in the year 2013, directed by Kevin and Michael Gertz, and this film is called Scenic. So Scenic is about two best friends. You've got one friend who is single, he doesn't have any responsibilities, he lives in his car, and you've got his best friend who is married with a son and a wife. So he's got priorities, and those new priorities are having a negative effect on their relationship. So this is what angers the single friend. So he decides that he's going to invite his friend on a road trip. And so they agree to this, and this is going to be quality time so they can get together again. So they go through this scenic route, which is in the middle of the desert, very lonely stretch of highway, and if something goes wrong, they're in a troubled situation because not many cars use this highway. So surprise, surprise, something does go wrong, their car breaks down, and now they've got to wait in hope that someone passes by so they can help them. So in the meantime, the single friend is going to use this opportunity to tell this guy some hard truths. He says that he's not happy, that he married the wrong person, and the married guy is saying, look, you're just a loser, you're just jealous that I have something in my life to live for. So there's a lot of animosity between these two that spirals into something very brutal as the situation combined with the atmosphere of the desert area is starting to have a nightmarish effect. So what that is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Scenic Route. At the start of this review I said thriller, and ultimately this is the problem I have with the film, is that it does advertise itself as something that it's not. I think this is much more a case of a psychological drama about friendship and how friendships can change people, and that how times and when life gets in the way, friendships aren't what they used to be. And when you try to get that friendship back, it can create a lot of animosity, and friendships can change us as people, and they can make us stronger or it can make us weaker. And so that aspect of the film is what I liked about it, but it is false advertising. This is not so much a thriller, it is definitely a character study of two very interesting people, but I just thought the thriller aspect of this film was very weak. Now to start off with, the performances in this film were fantastic, and that's the reason why the movie works, is because it's very bare bones. This is basically two people stuck in the desert and nothing else. There's no other supporting characters to really make the plot evolve into anything bigger, so it does run a very smooth line, and it doesn't really go up or down as far as the thrilling aspect is concerned. So for this to work, it needed great performances from the acting, and I thought Dan Fogler and Josh Duhamel do a very good job at portraying two friends who you actually felt are friends. You actually felt that these people are just not acting for the movie, they actually felt like friends in real life. Is that chemistry is there, the banter was there, they're bickering amongst each other, they're calling each other names, and you feel like, hey, this is a friendship that I can relate to, this is a friendship that I have, and that when life gets in the way, how your friendships are not what they used to be, but in the end you're the same people. And I think the movie really discusses that, and it does a very good job in it because of the fact that these two characters are outstandingly portrayed by two outstanding actors. So Dan Fogler, he plays this guy who's considered a loser, but then you say to yourself, is this guy a loser? He doesn't have a job, he doesn't have a house, but he's trying to follow his dreams, and so you sense that he's not lazy, and that's what makes you that's what makes him so likable. I invested so much time in Dan Fogler's character, but on the other hand, you've got the more arrogant character played by Josh Duhamel, who had a similar charm to him. Is that yes, he was married, yes, he had a child, but you sense that he wasn't really that happy, and that the friendship was what made him happy. But because life tells you that you have to do this, you have to have a child, you have to have a great job, you have to raise a family in order to be happy, that's society's rule, but not necessarily that's the case. And I think this movie gives a lot of dimension to Josh Duhamel's character, in that he is getting what society tells you you should do when you're older, but is he necessarily a better person than the person that we deem as a loser? So it's a very three-dimensional sort of situation that you get yourself into, and that's the reason why I liked it, is that yes, it does have a thriller sort of aspect to it. When you read the synopsis, you think this is going to be a movie like, movies like Open Water, where you've got this vast landscape, you've got them stuck in the middle of nowhere, it's going to be a battle for survival. And this movie does have that battle for survival, but it's a little bit too subtle to appeal to a lot of people, so be careful of that. I thought the script was fantastic, very witty, there were some very funny moments that lightened the mood, and those funny moments gave likability to the characters once again, is that you feel everything evolves into these characters to make them very three-dimensional, so they're standing out amongst a very dull setting. And the dull setting is the desert, but you feel that these two people shine enough to really carry the film from start to finish. There are moments where you think to yourself it's dragging a little bit, but it never gets boring because it knows what it wants to do, and I think it executed its plans very well. And so at the end of the film, I thought it was fantastic. It's very much, leave it up to your own interpretation as to what the ending is, and I think it gives it a little bit more depth as well, and it's a very beautiful ending too. I thought the overall meaning to the film was very beautiful, and it just comes across as a little bit surprising. Now whether or not that surprise is going to be good or bad for you, I thought it was very good for me. So the overall landscape was fantastic, very desolate, sort of desert. You felt the pain, you felt their frustration, you felt the sweat, you felt the thirst, you felt their headaches. It's a very visual film, it's a very saturated film, and it just seeps through the screen. So not only do you have great characters, but you sense their dilemma, you sense that they were in genuine danger, as someone might not come along to help them. So it is very reminiscent of films like Open Water, where you've got those two divers who are stuck in the middle of the ocean. Is that the outback and the desert is like the ocean. It's a very desolate area, and that there's a long way to go in order to get help. If you scream, no one's going to hear you. So I think it utilised the desert area very well too. And so when you've got very limited characters, it does take a lot of skill to prevent it from being a very boring film. But I think that Scenic Route and the Gertz brothers do a good job at keeping your interest. But having said that, although it does keep your interest, it doesn't really elevate itself to a memorable film. So you're not going to be running out there telling everyone about this great film you just watched, because it is bare bones, it does have good characters, but at the end of the day, it doesn't feel like it's something that hits a home run. It feels like it's something that gets to third base, but it just can't quite get to that last base in order to get that run. And so that was my only problem with it, is that the thriller aspect is quite weak. There are moments where you actually felt genuine fear for their safety, but there's just, as far as the thriller is concerned, I think it's a little bit of false advertising. So if you go into it for a straight out psychological drama about friends being put to the ultimate test, you might like it. But if you go into it expecting that thriller aspect that the movie promises, then you might feel a little bit shortchanged. So if you're prepared to go into it getting invested inside two very interesting people, then I would highly recommend it. I really liked it, and as a result of that, I'm going to give Scenic Route 3.5 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.